who has again cautioned, I am blind by divine design, but have you lost your vision and sight too?
This might be the case in, when if the person was not disabled. Now, the whole idea, so the first point I'd like to make is the blind client or the blind person who might come to the court is perfectly capable of talking about his or her situation. And he would be in the best position to tell you what actually happened. Blind. Immediately you tend to kind of totally discount his capacity to do things.
Let's pay an attentive ear to Miss Vidya Reddy, who is a child right activist. She says, childhood trauma does not come in one single package.
Sexual violence. There is another part which I would like to talk about, which is the actual experience of a child through a child's lens in the courtroom. And I think it's very important to understand. Many of us here are parents, and we believe that because we are parents, we know all about children. But having a child as a victim or witness in the courtroom and addressing that child's concerns is a different kind of challenge from being the challenges of being a parent. Many people assume that a traumatic incident will naturally stand out a child's memory and will therefore be easily recalled and related. We expect children to describe in detail upon demand, whether the setting is a forensic interview or the courtroom. But disclosure really is a many layered process. The child may say one thing today, may say another thing tomorrow, may take back something today, may add on something tomorrow, which is why when you're filing an FIR, you want the child to be this absolutely robust witness and say everything which happened in one go. It doesn't happen that way. For those of us who have children, we know how children talk. What you hear today will be a different story what you hear 1 month later, but anything really. So I think that's very important to understand when you have a child as a victim or a witness in your courtroom really.
Now comes the turn of another expert, a forensic science expert, Dr. Jagdish Reddy, who specially flew in from Bangalore to guide us judges. As an activist, he has extensively campaigned for ensuring dignity on trial. Justice, as is defined by him, lies in ensuring that victim is not troubled.
The next issue is it mandatory to go to a government hospital for these examinations? The law very clearly says any hospital, including public, private or run by any person. But unfortunately, in several states of India, still it is government hospital. So that means we are depriving these people of their right for compulsory treatment. Both the law and the court both insist, the Supreme Court insists it has to be given a free treatment. When we are depriving them of the very treatment, then how can we call ourselves that we are working towards justice of them? Justice doesn't mean that conviction of or punishment for the accused. Justice should also mean the victim is not troubled. The victim is given all the due what the victim is supposed to get.
Last, but the most important one, let's hear it from Just Sandra E. Oxner, who is a force behind Commonwealth Judicial Education Institute and is a renowned judge.
Strength of the judiciary is in the community. We don't have police forces. We have police officers, but who do they work for? The courts or the executive? Where is our protection? And the protection is in the public. And we saw that in Pakistan when the executive fired the judges and the people rose up. So the people are our strength. And if we don't have the confidence of those people, if they think we're ignorant, biased, if they think we're like that sales lady in New Zealand, are they going to bother to stand up and protect the judiciary? They're not, are they? Do you agree with me they're not? So at the very core of the reason we need to identify our biases, and not only our overt biases, but our hidden bias, strength of the judiciary.
Thank you.
That was a very powerful presentation. Thank you so much, Paridhi and Puneet. The significance of this evening can be best understood by reflecting on the experiences we have had with similar facilities at other district courts. There is no person better than Honorable Mr. Justice R.K. Gwaba, who has spearheaded implementation of these facilities at Saket district courts. I humbly request Honorable Mr. Justice R.K. Gwaba to deliver a special address on his experiences.
Helps you. Honorable Justice Madan B. Loco, Judge, Supreme Court of India. Honorable Justice G. Rohini, Chief Justice, Delhi High Court. Honorable Justice Geeta Mittal, my senior colleague on the bench. My colleague judges from the High Court, Justices A.G., Justice Mehta, Justice Saigal, district judges, Mr. Khosla, Mr. Nasiar, Mr. Ajad, other members of the bar associations, fellow judges from the district judiciary, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Chawla, when he introduced all of us, he reminded me of 1980s when I joined the judiciary, 1982-83 to be precise. Witness rights and witness protection were only theories one would hear in the seminars or conferences. For recording depositions of rape survivors, minors, kidnapped or rescued girls, abductees in ransom cases are all dangerous offences. The courts would struggle to extract the necessary information from the witnesses who were harassed, who were traumatized. The hostile atmosphere of the court, the crowded court halls, no segregation for such vulnerable sections of the society, no guidance, no support system, the defense glaring at them, it didn't help. The only guiding factors that we had during those days were what the law said, hold in-camera proceedings. In the name of in-camera proceedings, what we would do is turn everybody out. But yes, some were essential features of the court trial. They would remain in. In the name of screen, we would somehow procure someday that hospital curtain kind of thing, green curtain, if it was available. Indecent, scandalous questionings are barred, but it would be a struggle, it would be a kind of effort on your part to actually make the defense refrain from putting such questionings. The minors, when they would come across, come to the court for their testimony, whether in the ongoing trial or under 164, the testing of the competence of the witness to testify was a mere formality. 164 statements, it all depended on the individual efforts of the judge or the magistrate. Some would make efforts to make the child comfortable in our own little ways. It was more of a trial and error. It depended on the individual's sensitivity, sensibility, or the constraints of time. The inept or insensitive handling of such cases in court hurts even more in the mind, psyche, soul. Indeed, we have come a long way. The High Court of Delhi can proudly proclaim it has been the pioneer in framing these detailed guidelines on which Justice Geeta Mittal spoke. They are based inter alia on the judicial dicta handed down to us by the Supreme Court or in various judgments of the High Court. It has put in position certain court practices that ensure, hopefully, dignity and welfare of the vulnerable witnesses, to ensure they are insulated from the intimidatory treatment, friendly and they provide conducive and friendly environment. There is a system in position now, at least in those complexes where we have this vulnerable witness court program going, where we have a support system for the witnesses pre and post deposition. The idea is to ensure that there is no secondary victimization, no direct contact, so that the victim feels cared for. Yet, the guidelines balance the right of the accused for fair trial and give him the effective opportunity for fair procedure. The protocol that was introduced and enforced by the High Court aims to secure complete, accurate and reliable evidence, which is most essential need in the quest for justice. The guidelines are instructions for the trial courts given by the High Court. Therefore, they are binding. These directions give a direction to the whole procedure. Justice Geeta Mittal, of course, has been the driving force behind these guidelines and arranged those training programs which he has elaborately discussed. There is always, we have felt in the trial courts, as from my experience as a trial court judge and first appellate court judge and now in the High Court, I can say, we have often felt that hiatus between the promise of law and delivery. And probably the experience of working of Juvenile Justice Act comes as an easy illustration. Who knows it better than Justice Lokur? When he was in the High Court, he was heading the Juvenile Justice Committee. I also had the privilege to assist him in some of those inspections of those institutions under the Juvenile Justice Act. The legislature gives us a document aiming at reforms, but at times the enforcement is poor. Bare minimum infrastructure required for such reforms to actually show their result, show their impact, that is missing. It required a lot of effort under the Juvenile Justice Act regime to give a push and cajole the government to provide those basic facilities. The efforts are still underway. This initiative of vulnerable court complex, deposition complex, this sets a new paradigm for the governmental agencies to follow. The High Court, while introducing these reforms through the guidelines, has introduced the requisite infrastructure alongside. So the trial courts can now apply the guidelines in true letter and spirit. The vulnerable witness court complex, as was mentioned earlier, was first started at Karkaduma some years ago, and at Saket during my tenure there, with effect from 11th September 2014. The data which has been passed on to me shows that in Karkaduma Court Complex till date we have examined 1,105 witnesses in the vulnerable witness deposition complex. As against this, Saket has taken the lead and has examined so far in the last less than 2 years 1,160 witnesses. The witnesses mostly have been from the age group of 13 to 18, where the percentage remains constant on both sides, over 60%, and in the age group of 6 to 12, 32 or 30%. In Sakib, yes, the witnesses include those even below 5 years to the extent of 1.22%. The experience has been very encouraging. There has been a qualitative improvement, and Mr. Nagpal will now help me. The greatest satisfaction is in the fact that we have built confidence amongst the stakeholders. We'll need to keep the lights off. Let's hear some of those who have actually had a contact with the system.
हमारी लड़की 10 साल की है और एक दिन अनजान आदमी ने उसको बाहर से हाथ पकड़ के ले गया और जंगल के रास्ते और उसके साथ गलत काम किया और मेरी लड़की रोते हुए घर आई वापस। फिर हम लोगों ने FIR दर्ज कराया और दर्ज कराने के बाद फिर कोर्ट से नोटिस आया कि लड़की की गवाही है। फिर हम लोग बोले ठीक है। उसके बाद हम लोग को मन में ख्याल आता था कि कोर्ट में जाने के बाद कैसे बच्चे गवाही देंगे और वहाँ पे डरेंगे देख के। फिर NGO से आया फ़ोन के कोर्ट से गाड़ी जाएगी। फिर हम लोग उस गाड़ी से फिर कोर्ट आए। आने के बाद फिर यहाँ बच्चे देखे और खेले, यहाँ पे ड्राइंग बनाए, गुड डॉल से खेले। उसके बाद फिर बुलाया गया दूसरे कमरे में गवाही के लिए और बच्चे खेलते खेलते में गवाही अच्छे से दे दिए। और उसके बाद बच्चे आने के बाद नाश्ता वास्ता किए। फिर उसके बाद हम लोग को अंदर से डर निकल गया और हिम्मत और ज़्यादा हम लोग को देखने के बाद बढ़ गई। और उसके बाद हम लोग घर गए यहाँ से वापस। और बच्चे पहले से बहुत ज़्यादा बेहतर है और अच्छे से। ठीक। मेरी बच्ची 8 साल की थी जब उसके साथ हादसा हुआ था। मैं काफ़ी घबरा गई थी, मेरी बच्ची भी घबराई हुई थी और ये हादसा उसके अपने घर वाले ने किया था। इस हादसे में फादर है उनके। फिर उन्होंने FIR दर्ज कराया। फिर मुझे कोर्ट से नोटिस आई कि बच्ची का बयान है। तो मैं काफ़ी घबरा रही थी कि मेरी बच्ची का बयान होगा और जैसे हम TV पे देखते हैं वो सामने मुजरिम को आएगा और मेरी बच्ची देखेगी, घबराएगी, उसके आँख से डर जाएगी। चिंता मुझे बहुत हो रहा था और कुछ कर नहीं पा रही थी। बार बार NGO से किसी और से पूछ रही थी कि मतलब बच्चे के लिए कैसा इंतजाम है, क्या कर सकते। उन्होंने मुझे बताया था कि बच्चे के लिए बिल्कुल अलग है। फिर भी मुझे तसल्ली नहीं हो रहा था। फिर मैं एक दिन कोर्ट आई, आकर खुद से देखा और फिर जिस दिन बच्ची के बयान थे उस दिन बच्ची को लेकर मैं आई तो एक अलग कमरे में जिसमें खिलौने वगैरह बहुत थे उसमें बच्ची खेली बहुत अच्छे से। खाने पीने का भी समय मिला और वो आराम से गवाही वाले रूम में भी गई। लेकिन वहाँ पे ये उसके साथ हुआ कि फर्स्ट टाइम जो उन्होंने थोड़ी सी बातचीत बच्ची से की फिर मुजरिम को फौरन दिखा दिया तो वो थोड़ा घबरा गई। फिर उस दिन उसकी गवाही नहीं हो पाई थी। फिर अगली गवाही में आई तो मेरी बच्ची काफ़ी खुश थी। मेरी बच्ची खिलौनों से खेलने लगी, फिर टेडी बेयर लेके गई वहाँ पे और इतनी अच्छे जगह पे उसने दिया जैसे लोग खेलते खेलते उसने दे दिया। और सबसे बड़ी बात ये कि यहाँ पे बच्चों के लिए जो ये इंतजाम रखा गया है कि मुजरिम बच्चे को नहीं देख पाएंगे और बच्चे आराम से पूरी तरह से देख ले। हालांकि उस दिन मुजरिम को भी मालूम था कि हमारा मुजरिम आएगा, हमारा फादर जो है वो आएगा और वो अपनी नजरें चारों तरफ घूम रहा था ताकि एक बार मैं बच्ची को देख लूं। लेकिन इसलिए मुझे बहुत अच्छा लगा कि बच्ची हमारी मुजरिम नहीं देख पाया, बच्ची ने मेरी पूरी तरह देखा और वहाँ से खुश खुश आकर मुझे बताया कि मम्मी उसने ये पहना था, उसने कोट पहना था, पैंट पहना था और मुझे पूरी तरह तसल्ली हो गई कि बच्चों के लिए यहाँ पे बहुत अच्छा इंतजाम किया गया है और बेहतर है। मेरी बेटी 9 साल की है। मेरी बेटी 9 साल की है जो एक अनजान आदमी उसका हाथ पकड़कर जंगल की ओर ले गया था। वहाँ जाके उसने गलत काम किया। वहाँ से मेरी बेटी आई बाहर। जब वहाँ से मेरी बेटी घर आई तो काफी लोग बड़ी घबराई हुई थी। फिर मैंने जाकर एफआईआर दर्ज कराया थाने में। फिर थाने से एफआईआर दर्ज कराया, वहाँ से मैं वापस आया कोर्ट से। फिर मैं बड़ी घबराई हुई थी काफी कि मेरी बेटी वहाँ कैसे बयान देगी। लोग बिल्कुल चुप गुमसुम से रहती थी। जब हमें एनजीओ हमें कोर्ट दिखा के लेके गए कि यहाँ पे आके हमने देखा कि बच्चों का कमरा अलग है, इस कमरे से कोई बयान दिए जाएंगे। जब हमारी तारीख नजदीक आई तब हम यहाँ पे आए तो मेरी बेटी और बच्चों को भी देख रही थी कि मेरे जैसे और भी बच्चे हैं जो यहाँ बयान दे रहे हैं। और टेडी बेयर से खेल रही थी और खेलते खेलते अंदर गई कमरे में जहाँ उसने बयान दिए थे। और वहाँ से जब बयान देके आई काफी खुश थी, टेडी बेयर साथ लेके खेलते हुए आई थी। जब उसके बयान हो गए थे उसने बहुत अच्छे से बयान दिए और स्क्रीन पर उसकी फोटो भी दिखाई थी जो उसने पहचान लिया था। मेरे को ऐसा लग रहा था कि जब मेरे भी देख नजदीक आई थी कि मेरे बयान ही होंगे, मगर मेरे बयान यहाँ पे नहीं हुए, मेरे दूसरे पेट में हो गए। वहाँ सादे पेट में हुए थे मेरे बयान, सबके सामने। मैंने ये सोच रहा था कि जैसे मैंने यहाँ बयान दिया मेरी बेटी के भी अगर करते यहाँ बयान तो नहीं दे पाती। और ऐसा हमारा बच्चों के लिए ये बहुत अच्छा है कि आप कोर्ट है और अगर बयान दिया जाता है कमरे में अकेले में।
Two of the support persons who have been assisting at Saket District Court's Vulnerable Court Witness program for the complex, they have also volunteered to share their experience with us. Let's hear.
Hello all, my name is Advocate Lee Marley Noshi. I am appointed as a support person since 2012 and I have been practicing for last 8 to 9 years. I am appointed as a support person to provide support, company assist the victim to testify in the vulnerable courtroom. My work starts when I get a call from the court vulnerable witness room to bring the child, and I take the detail and bring the child next day. When I bring the child, through the separate entry which is made available for them so that they don't face the accused or any of their relatives or friends on the way. And after bringing them, I bring them through the and make them sit in the waiting hall where they are made comfortable, and thereafter at the time when the witness testifying comes, I bring them inside the testifying room where I and the child sit, and the questions which put across in the witness testifying room is always through me. The child doesn't hear a single word. The only time child see anybody on that room is the identifying the accused at the time when his photo is come on the TV, and thereafter the child, I try my best to make the question easy for the child to understand and to get it the best out of it. The question which put across are first put to the judge, and the judge put the question to me, and I put the question to the child, and the child answers to me, and I give the answer to the judge, and the judge get the statement written. Therefore, this system is helping only because much to the confidence of the child, because she doesn't have to, or he doesn't have to see anyone. She can answer this by playing around in the room where the victim will testify is going on, and help give her more confident. And I would thankful and thank you all the judges and the staff of the court who helped us make facilities possible and helpful to the victim of vulnerable witnesses. Thank you.
मेरा नाम पिंकी माहेश्वरी है। मैं साकेत कोर्ट में एज अ सपोर्ट पर्सन अपॉइंटेड हुई थी 11 सितंबर 2014 को। तभी से मैं कोर्ट में केस कर रही हूँ, एविडेंस करा रही हूँ। मेरा रोल इसमें यह है सपोर्ट पर्सन का कि जो चाइल्ड विटनेसेस हैं बिलो 18 ईयर्स, उनको उनके घर से लेकर आना है, उन्हें कोर्ट में फ्रेंडली एनवायरनमेंट देना है, उन्हें कंफर्ट फील कराना है कि वो अपनी स्टेटमेंट किस तरह से कोर्ट में रिकॉर्ड करें। जब उनकी स्टेटमेंट हो जाती है उसके बाद उन्हें उनके घर पहुँचाना होता है। अब इससे पहले मैं आज तक सपोर्ट पर्सन एज ए सपोर्ट पर्सन मैं 40 से 50 केसेस करा चुकी हूँ, जिसमें इससे पहले जब एस्टेब्लिशमेंट नहीं हुआ था BWDC का, तो जब बच्चों का एविडेंस उस टाइम कराया जाता था, जब वो कोर्ट में आते थे तब बहुत घबराते थे, उनके मन में डर रहता था, वो कोर्ट आने का ना आने का बहाना ढूंढते रहते थे कि मैं वहाँ पे कैसे जवाब दूंगा, कैसे क्या करेंगे, या वो स्टेटमेंट ठीक से दे ही नहीं पाते थे। जब से BWDC कोर्ट बन गया है, इसके बच्चे यहाँ आते हैं, आराम से आके खेलते रहते हैं, इंजॉय फील करते हैं, उसके बाद आके बड़े आराम से बिना किसी डर के अपनी स्टेटमेंट देते हैं। तो जब से BWDC कोर्ट बना है, बच्चे बहुत कंफर्टेबल फील करते हैं और अपनी सारी स्टेटमेंट देते हैं। जब मैं बच्चों को कोर्ट व्हीकल में लेकर आती हूँ, पूरे रास्ते पे चाहिए मैडम कोर्ट में ये वाला कोर्ट वैसा तो नहीं होगा जैसे टीवी में होता है। बच्चे बहुत डरते हैं कि तो हम टीवी में तो वकील जज चिल्लाते रहते हैं और वो गंदी गंदी सवाल पूछेंगे, मैं कैसे जवाब दूंगी उनका, मैं तो बोल ही नहीं पाऊंगी, मुझे तो बहुत डर लग रहा है। फिर उसके बाद उनका क्वेश्चन ये भी होता है कि मैडम वहाँ पे वो तो नहीं होगा, मुझे तो उससे बहुत डर लगता है, मैं कुछ नहीं बता पाऊंगी। फिर मैं आपको यही कहती हूँ कि नहीं, उस कमरे में सिर्फ आप और मैं ही होंगे, और आप मुझे आपके साथ जो भी कुछ हुआ है वो आप मुझे बता सकते हैं, जैसे आप अपने घर में मम्मी या दीदी को बताते हैं, वो वहाँ पे नहीं होगा, हमें आराम से बताइए।
Miss Bharti Ali runs an NGO. She shares her thoughts on it, on these complaints.
I remember one of our cases many years ago when the child had to depose in the court, and the lawyer had to inform the judge that, sir, the law requires that there should be a screen between the victim and the accused. But those were days when there were no screens. Yet the judge had to make some attempts, used the computers available in the room, just about everything available in the courtroom to create that screen between the victim and the accused. Fortunately, those times have changed. At least with this beginning in Delhi with the Karkaduma court and the Saket court having a vulnerable witness room, we see that the children feel so relaxed when they have to testify. The whole process has undergone a sea change. I still see children in courts which do not have these facilities finding it very difficult to face the accused. I also see them not being able to say what they want to say with such ease. And here none of the agencies involved in the cases, but because they are relaxed, they feel comfortable, they're able to speak their hearts out, able to speak their minds out. I think it's something to be tried across the country. This should become the norm. It can't be, because Delhi is in a privileged position, Delhi will have perhaps better facilities. It should become a norm across the country.
We draw satisfaction with what has been put in position. It's one thing to introduce reforms and quite another to maintain the momentum. We'll have to ensure that there is a scrupulous compliance with the guidelines. There is a vigil at the supervisory levels and regular guidance and sensitization.